Let's top off our coffee. It makes sense that if you're going to be doing a lot of art throughout the day, get you a carafe, baby. I'm a big fan of using the Zojiruchi brand carafe for pretty much everything. If you can't have the coffee machine directly on your desk, next best thing. Keeps it warm for a while. So, what are we up to today? Let's take a look. Let's see what we got going here. So, we have done a whole bunch of work recently. We wrapped up everything on this Sunday strip, and we are now looking at the following 6 days worth of comics. So strips 156 through 161. And that represents a week of dailies. Normally, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 6 days of dailies, and then you've got your Sunday strip. And those break down pretty well into individual pages. You know, if we're going to be putting this in print, we can put 3 dailies on a single page, which means you've got 1 page devoted to your Sunday strip, 1 full page for Monday through Wednesday, 1 full page for Thursday through Saturday, and then, you know, it evenly breaks down from there. You could also do 2 strips, 2 dailies per page, and that will lengthen the entire production. But yeah, point is that you, because of having this outlier, the Sunday strip, to set sort of like pacing and to, you know, kind of create a rhythm to your week, to your storytelling. Even 7 strips has a way of breaking down evenly like that because of how you can space it out. So anyway, what's happened since we did the Sunday strip is we borrowed some of the background elements, like the kitchen layer here in the background, right? We did a whole bunch of work on, you know, getting the drawer pulls and the sink and everything nailed, so now we can reuse that environment. So that appears in the next strip, on 156. 157, we're back in the doctor's office, and we've got another interior that we've been able to repurpose. The doctor's office scene continues in 158 with some props, like the rolling desk computer trolley. Right. 159 and 160 are just conversations between me and the doctor. And then you've got 161, which is the car ride home. And that is the story arc for the week. Also, this is a borrowed background too. I've used this a number of times. The car comes in 2 layers. You've got your front part of the car, which is the windshield, hood, grill, everything. And then you've got the back seat layer, so everything behind the characters. And all of your actors kind of appear in between these 2. So yeah, we're using a whole bunch of efficiency practices here to hurry up and get work done. And I wish I could say I was working faster than I really am. The truth is, you know, life gets in the way, jobs get in the way, and before you know it, you're posting comics faster than you're drawing them. And that's an unfortunate reality that I'm dealing with. So, in moving these strips to the computer, what we're going to be doing now is lettering and colors and finalizing, and that means moving stuff into Illustrator from Adobe Draw. Now, I've already gone ahead and done strips 157 through 161. Just for the sake of brevity, and so I'm not sitting here doing remedial stuff on the stream. But I saved 156 for us to do right now. So thanks to using Adobe Creative Cloud, we're able to transfer all of these projects from the iPad to Illustrator using through the cloud. So we will tap up here on the upper right. There's this button. the share button. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat so much. Click on Adobe Desktop Apps, and then click on Illustrator CC. And it's going to start cranking away. You can see the little working semicircle spinning up there. And when it's done, there will be a notification on the screen that says, there it is, sent. So let's switch over to the computer now, and you can see that it automatically opened in Adobe Illustrator. I wonder why this has to be here right now. Well, that's a bunch of baloney. Okay, let's leave it alone. So Illustrator, we're going to spend the rest of the afternoon working in this. Hence my giant carafe of coffee. And as far as tools are concerned, I might as well just give you the tour here. Normally, we are using the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil to do all of the vector artwork on the tablet. And as far as the script, I type everything out in a Google Doc, and then I take a screenshot of that snippet and I drop it in here as an image layer. So if I need a quick reference to what characters are supposed to be doing at any point in the strip, then I can easily do it from here. Now, moving over to the laptop. Let's see. Yeah, I'm using this MacBook Pro with my favorite Intuos Bluetooth medium tablet by Wacom or Wacom or whatever. Wacom. I'm really happy with this guy because it eliminates any need for extra cords. And even a Wi-Fi antenna. The Bluetooth thing has been really nice. And it's a nice compact form factor. You know, if I need to travel with it, it collapses down really small. And it's for basically everything I need. A lot of people are like, don't you want to get a Cintiq? Oh, come on, everybody wants a Cintiq. But do I need it? Probably not. This has been working really well for me. And I think most people's complaints, if they are using one of these tablets, is that you're not able to see the work right on it. So you're, drawing on the side while looking at a screen, and your brain is making this leap. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I got used to it pretty quick. The whole process of picking up the pen, the stylus, anytime you're moving the mouse and kind of hovering it, moving the mouse, you know what I mean. Comes pretty naturally. I feel like anybody that wants to try one of these tablets, it only takes about a week before you can really feel comfortable and productive in it. And of course, the process of breaking through and watching your brain adjust, watching your muscle memory get used to this thing is truly joyous, and I love watching other people, using one of these tablets for the first time and having those moments where they really get used to it and understand how it works. But I'm probably pandering now because most people who are watching this are probably familiar with this kind of stuff. So, whoops, I did not mean to dock my characters. Oh god, everything's stuck together now. Crikey. I don't know how you keep your palettes. I like to have my main set of tools docked, and then I like my characters, paragraph, pathfinder, and align tools to be just floating down here in the corner. That's my preference. Bear with me 1 second here while I get somewhat oriented. Okay. Now, I guess I'm a little out of my element because my total screen real estate is a little bit smaller than I'm used to because I'm streaming right now and mirroring. Thanks to the mirroring, I'm working at 1920 by 1080, and usually, you know, the Mac monitor has more vertical scale than that. I think it's, what is it, 2160? 30, no, that's not right. 4K measurement. You know, I don't remember, but the point is the Mac monitor usually has a taller resolution than just 16 by 9, and it's amazing how you get used to that. So I'm working a little bit more pinched than I'm typically used to, and that's okay. I'll get used to it. We just got done talking about getting used to things. Okay, so dialogue. I could just retype all this stuff, or I could go into Google Drive and copy and paste some of the text out of there, and I think that makes the most sense. So let me open a new window, and I'll go to Drive, and let's see, in my projects folder, how mom died, we're going to go to our working files. Chapter 11, Revolving Doors, go to Script, and 11B. Generally, the way I lay out my scripting too, I write a week at a time, and I usually only write ahead by a week or two at a time. So this is the post-it notes on the wall in my my upstairs office. Each row of post-its here is a week of comics, and each single post-it represents a single comic, right? So last week, well, actually, no. Yeah, here we go. Sky Park Gardens. That was the name of that assisted living place where Mom was at. This last Sunday strip we did, so that's what this is. And these are the 6 strips we're going to be finishing off today. So 11A would be the top row, 11B is the second row, 11C is the third row, and it's just, you know, 3 weeks worth of comics within chapter 11 is all it is. So we finished the Sunday strip. Now it's time for Pick Your Battles, and I believe that should be the same. Yep, that's what I took a screenshot of for this. So what I'm going to do is just highlight this, and oh no, this is curious. Usually I have my word bubbles. Oh, okay. No, I'm losing my mind here. So what we need to do now is we need to open our 4-panel strip 2020 template. What we were looking at there, this is just the exported material from the iPad, right? But it's not sized for print. It's not going to be uniform to what I've done already. And so we need to have a template to work from. And that's what this is. And in my template, I have my labels, my narration, footnotes, word bubbles of different types that are pre-formatted for different types of conversation, different levels of energy. And so I have those all ready to go. And, you know, strip number. This is 156, yeah, so let's type that in. Maybe space that out a little bit. I've mentioned before that the font that I'm using for the in-comic lettering, not the title, but the dialogue and everything, is Anime Ace. And I probably want to try upgrading to Anime Ace 3. I didn't even realize that was a thing until last time we were streaming. But it's got another option. There's a bold italic built into Anime Ace 3. And I think it may have solved some of the kerning issues that are present in Anime Ace 1. But, you know, I'm one of those people that doesn't like to change my stuff in the middle of a project. So, we'll see. Anyways, okay, 4-panel strip 2020. Let's save this now as... we'll go into chapter 11, Revolving Doors, and let's see, 156. Why do I already have a 156 in this folder? What is it? Uh-oh, wait a minute now. That's 155. 156 is an empty one. Okay, so let's save this as 156. And as you can see, I've already got 157 through 161 done. Or not done, but they're ready to go. Just so I don't have to do this exact process 5 more times today. Okay. The image layer here is the script. I think I'm going to copy that over as well. If I hit Command A to highlight everything, we can see this bounding box around all the artwork. And if there was any, stray elements that were off on one side, we would see that box a lot larger. But for what I'm doing here, it's good to have everything just clean like this, where there's no extra stuff outside of the frames. I can probably go ahead and just delete that, or even just get rid of this non-printing layer. So let's highlight everything, and let's make sure that in the layers we don't have anything that's named draw layer, because if I had not been diligent about renaming my layers in unique naming conventions, excuse me, then you would see, the default when you start a new layer, it says draw layer. And if you've got a bunch of things that are the same name, they will be collapsed into a single layer, and then you have to go through the painstaking process of separating everything, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to highlight everything. I could either hit Command A or just lasso everything like I just did. Let's do Command C to copy. And then let me zoom out a bit here. If I just hit Command V, you see how it kind of center pastes everything, but Command Shift V is the paste in place function. Now when I created this template, when I created the template in Adobe Draw, rather, I didn't size it exactly to the same proportions or to the same resolution, as what is in this final template. My Sunday strips are a little bit more accurate, but this is just a thing I have to deal with now. So what I do is I align it to the top left, and then I'll grab the bottom right hand corner and holding Shift, I'll squish it so that it perfectly lines up with my template. There we go. Now I have a layer here called frames. Let's see, how do I know there's a way to hide everything but the layer. I'm forgetting what the hotkey is. So frames is is this layer in Adobe Draw, and what it is, it's just an image layer that I've dumped in there to give me guidelines for drawing the comic. But it's not vector. This is just an image, like a PNG. There's already in my template something called panels. This is where I got where I got that artwork to begin with, and it is vector, and so that is something I want to make editing easier. So basically what I'm going to say here is that once you've resized your artwork into the template, just get rid of frames. Now you'll notice the artwork is sitting on top of panels, and what I do is I take my non-printing layer, my dialogue, word bubbles, panels, labels, narration, everything but the colors and gradients, and I move that stuff to the top. Cool. Now I've got my gradient placeholder here that's just giving me a starting point for if I need to create any gradients. So I have one like pre-made and ready to go that can be duplicated across the panels. But typically I don't use gradients for indoor footage unless we're dealing with up-close shots or something that really calls for it. So I'm going to delete the gradient layer because I won't be needing it. Another rule I use, a rule of thumb for consistency's sake, is that my colors are at 35% opacity for indoor scenes. And right now all 4 of them are set to that. So that's good. I'm just going to go ahead and lock that, and we shouldn't have to look at colors again. Now let's start working on that text. I'm going to unlock the word bubbles layer. I'm going to keep the rest locked. Let's go back into my Google Doc here again and just highlight that first line of text. And let's holding Option. I'm gonna duplicate. Oops, wait a minute now. We need to unlock the dialogue layer too. I have my word bubbles and my dialogue on separate layers for ease of editing. So let's paste that in. And let's just finesse the text so that it fits better inside of an oval. So mom's reply is good. I feel like it might be cool to have her somewhat, you know, yelling that. Maybe it's a stern response. But, you know, I don't know. Having this extra layer of dark outline, I mean, it is pretty animated, pretty intense. So it might be too intense for her to just be responding with the word good. What we can do, though, is make it bold. And that, you know, that adds a little emphasis. I think that's the right level of severity coming from her. Interestingly, there is an art to you know, the word bubbles themselves. Like how much padding do you want to put around it? There's a subtlety that you can capture by fine-tuning that spacing. I don't think we need to get into that right now, but anyway, this is about right. Maybe I can fine-tune this a little bit too. If I hit Shift-C, it's the same thing as holding down here and going to the anchor point tool, but the anchor point tool allows you to grab these control points and fine-tune our curvature. I typically do something like that, so it approaches a rounded rectangle, even if that's not even an accurate description. So that seems like it's making good space in the panel. Now she hands over this suitcase. You can see I've made some changes to the overall plan here. So let's take the stuff home and bring me dishes and silverware. That's pretty good. And the response is, oh, okay. And then she goes, oh, and bring my pink pillow. So we have two pieces of dialogue from her in this panel. So we have two pieces of dialogue. And I'll show you what I do in that case. You know, I'm not feeling how squared off the corners of that have become. I'm just going to grab this again instead of messing with those control points. And that's a little bit better. pink pillow. Okay. Should probably be a comma there. Sometimes if the text formatting isn't quite lining up the way I want it to, you know, I'll add a carriage return, I'll hit enter and force the text to be more square. Probably fine. Mom lights a cigarette. Steve says, I don't think you can smoke in here. Now, a lot of times when I'm drafting stuff out like this, you know, I screw up my capitalization. I type really fast, and frankly, I've gotten lazy over the years because of texting and stuff. So the reason why I correct this stuff now, I'll show you. If I highlight that, bring this over here. Come on. There's not much difference in this font between lowercase and uppercase. But capital I and lowercase I, that is different. And I've noticed there are times where I've typed in my script in all caps or something, and then when I get into the comic, and I even go so far as to posting it online, I notice that, whoops, you know, I'm using capitals like across the board, and it's evidence like in the letter I in the middle of a word. So I'm trying to be more cognizant of that now, and correct for that early, because that's a tiny little thing, but I feel like I want to enforce that consistency. I want to be better about such things. Now, is this a word bubble where I would need to manually adjust it? See, I think this is a good example. If I start squishing the word bubble, or the dialogue rather, I get this straggler at the end, this widow. I wonder if widow is one of those words that's going to become passé in typography. So you'll see, if I just do a soft return here, it becomes more vertically balanced. My middle line is wider than the top and the bottom one, and that is a more desirable outcome for staging word bubbles. So, have these overlap. They're big enough, and plus I don't really want them interfering with the smoke. And I think that she should be sort of stern about saying why not. So let's just do bold on that. And then here's a perfect example of having to correct the kerning on Anime Ace 1. The T always has uneven kerning for some reason. Okay, and only in bold for some reason. So you see if I type the word attention, oops, the spacing after the T is off kilter a little bit, yeah. And then the front, it's too tight, so some of the quality control was not quite there when they put this together. And that's something I manually correct all the time when I'm doing bold text. I'll expand my kerning on the front and then contract it on the rear, which is a crazy amount of extra work that I probably could avoid if I just changed to Anime Ace 3. So one day soon. One day soon. Oh, look, we have to fit one more piece of dialogue in this frame. So yeah, this one's going to get a little tight, and I think that will certainly justify the overlap. And I think we might even want to have some of it go outside of the frame here. So that's not entirely how it works. Let's adjust those control points again. Hello. There we go. I feel like there's something that happens when I force this MacBook Pro to be outputting at 1080p. Because like I said, the typical resolution for this monitor is something closer to 3840 by something more than 2160. It's taller than 16 by 9. But squishing it down does something when it comes to my accuracy when I'm clicking on tiny little things. Something I'm just have to work around for the stream, but something to be aware of. Using the optimal screen resolution when you're doing fine work, especially vector stuff, it's probably preferable. And the reason I have it layered like this, I have this rule that I've set for my word bubbles that the next thing that's said should overlap the last thing that's said, so not like this. It should be like that. And that way there's like this logical kind of rule set in place where things have an order, that they're constantly being laid on top of each other, laid on top of the last thing, like, you know, like dealing cards to somebody. And we'll add the tails in a minute here. So Emily's going to say, I think I saw some ashtrays outside. Here's a great example of some type that's not going to be completely even. It's not going to block super well. There's no way to subdivide this in a way that is, you know, a perfect fit for an oval. And that's okay. Sometimes it's fine, but sometimes I will be tempted to angle, like skew my oval. And I'm doing this by holding down Command, Option, and Shift at the same time. And scaling with the resize tool, the free transform tool. So see, this is a little bit skewed now. Just a little bit, but it's adding something. It feels like it's fitting the text just a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, Mom, I think you have to smoke outside. Let's add a comma. Can we... There we go. Now, if I were to, because I added a soft return up here after the word think, but I didn't do so after the word smoke, that means if I resize, you know, there's only going to be one line break there. I'm not worried about that in this comic because this isn't the kind of situation where there would be a font substitution. Like a good example would be if I was using PowerPoint to create a presentation, and I wasn't sure that the end client would have the same fonts on their system. In that case, you might want to be super careful about adding the soft returns everywhere. That way, if the font changed, you wouldn't get these unexpected line breaks. But yeah, when I export this at the end, it's going to be PNG, and it's going to be locked forever, so there's no reason to worry. Free country, I can do what I want. I think I'm going to do it like this. It's a smaller word bubble, so it makes kind of a makes it feel a little bit more like a final takeaway. Like as she's walking away, she's being dismissive, right? And so the word bubble should hang close to her. It's not being like injected into my space necessarily. Sort of an afterthought. Now I already know, well, you know what? Let's deal with that in a minute. We also have to add one more line of narration here, so I'm going to highlight this. And let's grab our narration formatting. I might have to rethink this because it's cutting off a lot of the artwork. And I wasn't planning that when I originally did the script, so this is something I might want to try a different way. This might count as too much exposition. I decided to let the staff deal with this one. I needed to pick my battles right now. Does that need to be spelled out? I don't think it does. I think that is implied. Let's just go ahead and delete it. Okay. So a couple of things before we go much farther. I noticed there's some discrepancies in my art here. For one, the kitchen should be at 65% opacity. And I left a note in my layer naming here. It says 65%. And I did that because when you bring your artwork in from Adobe Draw into Illustrator, a lot of times that your layer opacity isn't preserved. So what I'll do is I'll click on this little circle right here, and that highlights the entire layer. Well, all the objects on the layer would be highlighted if I clicked here and created that little colored box next to the circle. But if I click on the circle itself, it looks like the same thing's happening, but it's a bit different. So I can change my transparency to 65 and it affects the entire layer at once. Versus, undo. If I clicked here next to it and highlighted all the objects and then 65, it's going to make the objects themselves transparent. So it's a subtle difference, but you see what happened here, that these objects have now become transparent. Whereas if I do the entire layer, do layer transparency, it's bringing the whole thing down, right? But it's not, you're not seeing the different shapes on top of each other. So the entire group has been reduced in strength. I'm seeing another opportunity for correction here. The stuff layer stuff, it shouldn't be behind us here. It was in front of us the whole time. So let's move stuff up. And that's something to remember too, is that when you're, oops, see now the cigarettes are on top of Mom. What I guess what I need to do is move people 4. It's us. Move that behind stuff. Does this look right now? Yes. All the people, and by that I mean Steve and Emily, wear these layers here. and we're behind the stuff layer, and then mom is on top of the stuff layer. So that all stacks the way I want. I noticed something weird back here too. What is this? This is some straggler. So this looks like it was a mistake. Well, maybe. Let's see. Was it supposed to be a... Yeah, who knows what that was. I think that was probably just me attempting to draw some of the necklines on Emily, but I was on the wrong layer and I had the wrong brush selected too. Hard to say, but let's just get rid of them. Extra geometry that is not necessary. So there's that, and wasn't there something else? I thought I caught another glitch in here. No, that's probably it for now. All right, so let's lock everything except for our word bubbles and our panels and dialogue. Let's add a little emphasis. There's something I've been fond of doing lately, and that is adding emphasis in just like bold text in a lot of places throughout the dialogue to kind of help you hear the inflections, the ups and downs of the character talking. Let's go ahead and correct some of that kerning.